A world-renowned city, the second most densely populated city in the United States behind New York City, known for landmarks, diverse culture, history, and so much more, San Francisco is a place many will want to visit. But what if you only have 24 hours to see it? Let me share with you some of the top things to do and see while in San Francisco if you only have a short bit of time there. Welcome to the Savvy Sightseer, the channel that helps you travel savvy. If you find yourself in San Francisco for only 24 hours or so, it's going to be hard to do it all. So for me, I narrowed it down to more of a sampling and sightseeing adventure to just take in what the city had to offer. So the first thing I suggest to do is simply drive around and see the sights and check out the different neighborhoods, each with their own charm. The first place I would go to check out is the Painted Ladies or Postcard Row. If you are a fan of the TV show Full House, you will instantly recognize these iconic homes. With their jaw-dropping backdrop of the city and their pastel-painted exteriors, these Victorian homes are a spot not to miss. This is probably one of the most photographed spots in all of San Francisco. One thing I didn't expect were all the people, though. On a sunny day, expect that park to be filled with people. So you aren't going to get that picture on a blanket all by yourself with these in the background like they did on Full House. Another thing to note is that some people do confuse the homes of Painted Ladies with the recognizable Full House house with the red door, but that home is not one of the Painted Ladies. You can go check that out and drive around over on Broderick Street. It no longer has the red door, and there's a sign outside asking you to be respectful and not trespass, as this is a privately owned home. Now, as you're driving around, one thing you will instantly notice are the steep hills you have to drive up and down. San Francisco is known for its steep hills and is considered one of the hilliest cities in the world. These hills are all due to tectonic activity known as subduction. During the gold rush, San Francisco rapidly grew, and rather than deciding to take the time to create smooth curves, they decided to keep the steep hills. And with the use of cable cars, it allowed the city to expand even more over these steep hills. Now, speaking of cable cars, that would be another thing to do and see while in San Francisco. These historical landmarks travel these steep streets, carrying San Franciscoans and tourists alike. The cable cars are the world's last manually operated cable car system. These cars are pulled along by cables embedded in the street and were named a National Historic Landmark in 1964. Hang on to the poles and let them give you a ride up those insanely steep hills. One hill not to be missed while in San Francisco is Lombard Street. Known as the crookedest street in the world, this is a tourist mecca and one of San Francisco's most famous landmarks. Every year, millions of visitors will walk up or down these hairpin turns or wait in a long line of traffic to maneuver their car down them. There is nothing quite like the switchbacks on this road. At first glance, you would think these switchbacks were dangerous, but in reality, they were designed for safety. The natural steep grade of Lombard Street was thought to be too dangerous. So, in the 1920s, a property owner suggested creating a series of switchbacks to not only make the street safer for pedestrians, but also to add to its visual appeal. Between the lovely homes that line it, there are beautiful bushes, creating an almost garden-like environment. If you choose to drive down it, expect to stay in a queue almost like at a Disneyland, in which traffic cops will direct you down once it's your turn. Besides the uniqueness of this road, it really is beautiful and can't be missed. I love being able to share with you all of my research, experiences, and tips I have learned while traveling. If you are finding this video helpful, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, comment, and check the notifications for more savvy travel tips. I really appreciate your support so I can keep sharing with you all these sightseeing tips. Some people might equate San Francisco with some of its popular locations such as Fisherman's Wharf and Pier 39. So, two more sites to see there are these two places, located right by each other. Both are very family friendly with many things for both adults and children to do. Loaded with restaurants, things to do and see, and all sorts of shops, you could spend quite a bit of time here if you wanted. This area is packed with people, especially on a sunny day. It's very busy, so be aware of that. With that said, the whole area did feel very tourist trappy, if you catch my drift. I highly suggest going to them just to check them out. Fisherman's Wharf is also home to the iconic Boudin Bakery and their famous sourdough. It's also the oldest continually operating business in San Francisco. And at the very least, go to Pier 39 and just walk the boardwalk. Make it to the end of the pier and you will be rewarded with sea lions sunbathing. But be aware, they do stink. You'll also get picturesque views of the bay. And one thing you may notice right away is Alcatraz, eerily isolated out there in that bay. There are boats that depart from this area where you can take a trip to go visit it if you want. We didn't have time, so just seeing it from the pier was fine, and actually quite interesting. I didn't expect it to be so close to the mainland. And also, at the end of the pier, if you're lucky, you'll get a great look at the Golden Gate Bridge. You might be wondering why I said, if you're lucky. Well, seeing the bridge is not a given. While we were there, we could only make out parts of it. Even driving across it the first day, we could barely make out any of its iconic spires, even though we had beautiful blue sunny skies in the rest of the city. According to Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District website, the Golden Gate Bridge has an influence in directing fog as it pushes up and pours down around the bridge. Advection fog forms when humid air from the Pacific Ocean swoops over the chilly California current flowing parallel to the coast. The fog then hugs the ground and then the warm, moist air condenses as it moves across the bay or land. This is common near any coastline. Sometimes high pressure squashes it close to the ground. By the way, the color of the bridge is international orange, and it was actually chosen in part because its visibility in the fog. Unfortunately, we were not so lucky finding the bridge enrobed in fog majority of the time we were there. This was something that I did not expect, and something we found out later, I guess, happens quite often. So odds are you're not going to get that picture-perfect view of the bridge like you see in the pictures. I wish I would have known this so my expectations weren't quite so high. If you do find yourself lucky while in San Francisco to see the Golden Gate Bridge not enveloped in fog, then you definitely need to check it out. Take a drive across it or find one of the many viewpoints to take it all in. After checking out the city for a while, you will want a cool treat, so there's no better place to grab one than at Ghirardelli Square. The building that houses Ghirardelli's has been a Bayside landmark since 1862 and is considered one of San Francisco's oldest buildings. Located near the San Francisco Maritime National Park and once the home of Pioneer Woolen Mills, Ghirardelli purchased it in 1863 because they needed more room for their chocolate factory. The building was granted National Historic Register status in 1982, a move that ensured the preservation of Ghirardelli Square for future generations. There are many shops and restaurants here, but the one you need to go to for sure is the Ghirardelli Chocolate and Ice Cream Shop. Here you can get ice cream treats and handpick your own assortment of chocolates, making perfect souvenirs to bring back home. A quick tip, if you want ice cream, don't wait in the long lines in the one above. Go down to the street level and you'll find Ghirardelli on the Go, which also serves ice cream with much shorter lines. You'll find all the same delicious options of sundaes you would find up above, but you'll be able to enjoy it much sooner. And there are also some pretty great views of Alcatraz and the San Francisco Bay from the upper levels of the square. Check it out for yourself. And probably my favorite thing we saw while in San Francisco was the Palace of Fine Arts. After San Francisco suffered the major earthquake and fires in 1906, they were determined to show the world that they had risen from the literal and figurative ashes. So city leaders worked together to get San Francisco to be the site of the 1915 Panama Pacific International Exposition. They were successful and the Palace of Fine Arts was constructed. The iconic structure was supposed to be torn down after the end of the fair, but it remains to this day. It was rebuilt from 1964 to 1974 to become permanent and is now a part of the U.S. National Register of Historic Places. This place was absolutely beautiful and the size of it was more than impressive. The grounds themselves are stunning and it's worth just taking a stroll around. And lastly, make sure to try out the food in San Francisco, especially the bakeries, such as Bee Patisserie. You have to try their famous kunyaman. It's basically a layered pastry with sugar and butter flavor, and it is delicious. And of course, San Francisco has a plethora of different cuisines, so make sure to try out restaurants while you're there. Like I said before, San Francisco is a world-renowned city, and for good reason. And if you find yourself there, even for 24 hours or less, it's worth checking out. Thank you for joining me and letting me share with you things to do while in San Francisco. Make sure to hit subscribe so you can see more of my videos to help inspire your next travel destination and to help you travel savvy.